So tonight's episode is a Hollywood handjob between two entities in the business of bullshit. One being the CIA, they're experts at it, and the other, Hollywood, also fucking experts at it. The CIA gets to downplay its crimes, and Hollywood gets to basically suck itself off while pretending to not take itself too seriously. That's what this shit is. The US gets to be both victim and hero, and Hollywood, the producer and best supporting actor in this production of a political thriller and a real life spy rescue movie starring Ben Affleck. Tonight, it's a true story, but it's scripted, and it's scripted in a meta sense because it's scripted in the way that it's given to us as an actual film depicting the real events, which had a script which was created by a CIA script. But we'll get into that. Tonight, it's Argo, RickRamos go.
Wow, you basically said everything that needed to be said. I don't really need to add
All right,
anything to it. Or thanks. Go to buymeacoffee.com/watchRickRamos. What is there to say? Except for when you recommended this movie, I just we a lot of times we go over text. We communicate over text, planning what we're going to watch and suggesting the films that might be good for either series that we're doing or films that piggyback one another in theme or tone. And so you sent Argo to me, and I thought immediately, well, it seems a little bit too on the nose at this time and obvious. And I really wasn't interested in doing it until we actually spoke about it while we were doing Wag the Dog last week. And I realized that it is a continuation of Wag the Dog, the production value, but also the sense of exactly what you just said, America playing the victim and the hero in a way that goes back to the white savior role that we've that trope that we've leveled against Dune and Dances with Wolves, Avatar, all that shit. It's all part of the same thing. Yeah. And with this, but this is also different in the sense that it dramatizes a real life event, but does so in such a way as to really Hollywoodize it, and to Hollywoodize it in a way that I think grotesquely and irresponsibly paints the U.S. and specifically the CIA and Tony Mendez in a light that is undeserved. So let's look at this film for what it is. Fucking propaganda designed to make ourselves feel better about the shit that we get ourselves into, or at least we as a country get ourselves into. So this is more your I think this is more your area of expertise. I think this is one of the things that fascinates you, and I might be wrong, but this kind of topic I think resonates with both of us. But it's taken me a long time to get to the Middle East as far as looking at the fingerprints of American liability and cover up. So please enlighten me a little bit more, because there's a lot more to this story. Suffice it to say, I had seen it once, I've seen it again, and it's a much worse movie than I remember.
I mean, even it's all fucking. I mean, I don't know if that's my area of expertise. It's an area of interest for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interest definitely more than expertise, but
Yeah, and
which is also to say you know a hell of a lot more about the history of this part of the world than I do, and I really just like what I know is what the government is capable of, and what all governments are capable of, but specifically American, my government, and I don't want people to imagine that we're sitting here just bashing the U.S. of A. in as a means of making everybody else look better. I personally think all governments are corrupt. I think they're all built on an idea of controlling and subjugating their people, but also in controlling their minds and the thought process that goes into um, uh, forming an opinion on this kind of historical context. So please, now I've said what I wanted to say. Please
well, yeah.
carry that torch.
Well, it's even like the let me go in phases, but even the idea of like, well, yeah, it is on the nose because we've been doing. There were, I don't remember how, a year ago or whenever it was that I had sent out messages to like some of our supporters. Um, and I'm like, yeah, give us like request episodes. We're in this dystopian kind of vibe, and it's kind of like I look back at our not like we're obviously we don't enjoy dystopia, but we I think need to reflect and express current events through the dystopian lens and having those conversations to kind of like ease those tensions or whatever. And and by the way, some of you, I still have that list. We're still getting to that stuff. It's just that some dystopias are more pressing, I guess.
Fair enough. Yeah.
The fact is, though, the course of the show, the fucking 11 years or whatever we've been doing this, has been filled with those. It's fucking current events. It is wagging the dog. It's also, the politics of fucking arrival. It's also all the other shit that we've been talking about as of late. It's Modern Times and Salo and Eyes Wide Shut and Metropolis, and the list goes on and on. You know what I mean? Manchurian Candidate fucking times two. And right now we are at war with Iran. And talking about wag the dog and the idea of, still we haven't forgotten, and that's the idea too, is that like, well, how much of this shit is like in some kind of relationship with the Epstein files and the cover up of that or whatever. Because we've talked about Nixon, we've done that, we've done the 9/11 stuff, we've done the it all JFK, it all fucking ties in terms of like, as you said, political theater, corruption, all of that. And what better topics, or what a better venue to talk about political theater than when you have politics and Hollywood meet in a way that is very conscious, in the way that it's conscious in the story of Wag the Dog, and a way that it's conscious in the actual events of Argo. And so to talk about Argo and to criticize, and we are currently in a war with Iran, which the powers that be will tell you is both beginning and has ended. The powers that be will tell you that we don't need anybody, but it's about time that people from other countries start getting involved to help us out so they can carry their weight. You're getting all this contradictory shit because why not?
Would you consider all of that Orwellian, or not necessarily?
Completely, yes, yeah. Completely Orwellian, yeah. It's completely it's like double speak shit, you know. Of course, and we're not at war, but we're in a state of war because they declared war on us. Of course, after we bombed them. When and it's like, well, because they were gonna do this, so we, it's preemptive. It calls back to WMD, fucking Bush, post 9/11, fucking war in Iraq. Without the you try to kill my daddy part. It's all it echoes, right? It all echoes. It becomes like huh?
Well, I was going to say it's even worse than that because it's not just you tried to kill my daddy or preemptive. It's a world leader of what is commonly referred to as the most powerful empire on the planet, saying, "I felt it in my bones."
Of course, yeah.
So that's on a whole other level of
well, that's worse than you try to kill my daddy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's yeah, my fucking arthritis told me. Now.
No, you started to make the Game of Thrones comparison. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yes, it's like eventually you're like, it's all the fucking. It's not all the same, but it's kind of like it looks like it's all the fucking same. And it's like, which Targaryen is it? And it's Aemon or some kind of version of some other similar name that you're just kind of like. And eventually, all these wars fucking start to look alike, and all these military actions and these non-wars and these undeclared wars and all this other bullshit starts to look alike. And we've seen it. And when haven't we fucking been at war? In some degree. Of course, you can say we haven't because none of them have been declared. So it's all word games and shit like that. And it's always about oil. It's always about, but at the same time, it's always about freedom. Because war is peace, right?
Yeah.
So Argo is interesting because the premise is that, and if for people who aren't familiar with the background of it, which is what's downplayed in the film itself, which is what's really the problem. Or one of them.
Yeah, I was going to say there's several problems with this film.
Yeah, there's you get like 5 minutes of not even. You get like 30 seconds of some background, and then next thing you know, bam! So you have the Iranian Revolution in 1979, and you have Iranians storming the U.S. Embassy. And in the storming of that U.S. Embassy, they capture 50 some odd people who are working in those buildings, in those offices, and then 6 of them, they escape, and they end up at the Canadian Embassy. So now you have all these hostages, and then you have 6 that are at large, basically, and they're hiding out with the Canadians. And so now the CIA and the State Department are like, okay, what the fuck are we gonna do? And one CIA agent, his name's Tony Mendez, and he's an exfiltrator. His expertise is to go to different countries and fucking get people out. Played by Ben Affleck. His idea is like, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna create a fake production company, in a fake Hollywood production company, to include a fake script. And we are going to even create promotions of a movie that we're never going to make, but it's all a cover story, so that when I the agent, go to Iran. During all of this shit, I'm going to pose as an associate producer or whatever, and I'm going to make it so that the cover story is that the 6 people who are at the Canadian embassy are part of a crew that's there on a location scout. And we're going to pretend to do the location scout, and then we're going to leave. And I'm going to fake all these documents, and we're going to do all that spy shit, and then I'm going to get them out because that's the only way to fucking get them out. And this film is about that story. And so you can say, well, all right, well, what's wrong with that fucking story? Especially the fact that it is like a version of that did happen. And it's like, well, there's nothing wrong with that version of that story, because it's like, yes, these people were, even they in the embassy, they're on American soil, because an embassy, that's how that is. The problem is that this kind of story becomes like, I'm gonna fucking knock over a glass of water, and then I'm gonna fucking produce a roll of paper towels, and I'm gonna fucking, I knocked over the glass of water because we were having an argument, and then I'm gonna fucking produce a thing of paper towels, and I'm gonna wipe it, and I'm gonna start telling you about how absorbent and how amazing these paper towels are, and I want you to buy them from me. And then the person whose house it is like, motherfucker, you knocked over a glass of fucking water on purpose, and now you're trying to fucking sell me paper towels. Like, what? They're like, no, just focus on the fucking, like, I fixed it. I look how beautiful this is. And it's like, you're working on one aspect of a fix of a problem that you fucking created. And it's a weak analogy, but it's a version of that. And that's what the US did, because if let's zoom out. Right now, again, the United States and Israel are bombing Iran. Iran is bombing Israel and US bases in the so-called Middle East. And even that language, there's a clip going on right now on I've seen it on my shit on Instagram, where it's she's a doctor and a scholar and a dissident named Nawal Saadawi, or Asadawi. She was imprisoned under, I think, Sadat, and she's Egyptian. She's talking to someone, and this woman is like, "Oh, the Middle East," and she's like, "No, hold on, it's not the Middle East." She's like, "That's a colonial language."
Mm-hmm.
So she's already fucking breaking that down. And it's these assumptions that we make. Middle to what? And she's like, this ship was a colony of England, so it's the Near East or the Middle East, because the Far East was their colony in India, right? So then she says that she makes the joke that she goes, when she goes to England, she says she goes to the Middle West. And that when she comes to the United States, she says the Far West. And she says and everyone laughs, the interviewer laughs, and she's like, yeah, see, when I say that statement, we all laugh, because it sounds like ridiculous. But when you say Middle East, everyone doesn't laugh. No one laughs, because that's the language, because it's from the perspective of whom? Middle to whom? So that's like, to someone who's going to be like, oh, this woke bullshit, it's like, no, like, the language, and this goes to the Orwellian part, the language is how these ideas become framed and how our reality becomes framed. Hollywood and the CIA are very much aware of this, because it's all about the story that you're being told and the story that you tell and what kind of language you use. And that's why the script is fucking important. So for the background, so Iran is a huge country in the so-called Middle East, right? It's has its own ancient, comes from the ancient Persian civilization. It's not an Arab country. It's not a Semitic country. The language Farsi is an Indo-European language. Iran is related to the term Aryan, like it's which is that ancient horse tribe or whatever. It's not Arab. It's none of that. So that first of all, it's like that's one that people they just think all of those people are Arabs, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's its own thing with its own culture, ancient, like its own history, its own civilization, its own rich history. In the so-called, and this is another one, but we're not getting into that one now. But in the so-called Muslim world, it is predominantly a Shiite. It's a Shiite country, and that comes from a historical sectarian split in Islam after the Prophet Muhammad's death. And so the one what became these two groups was like one group thought that the next leader should be a relative. The others thought it should be someone who's basically elected. And so Iran ended up becoming historically Shiite. In terms of modern history, there was dynastic rule, and then in the early 20th century, you had workers, students, merchants, clerics. They had a revolution. This led to a constitution, a parliament. There were power struggles within that, of course, and this goes to what you're saying about you being suspicious of all leadership. Once you get oil, then you start seeing people like the British going like, oil interests. You have a new dynasty coming, the Pahlavis. Period of modernization. By the early 50s, you get a prime minister named Mossadegh, who was democratically elected. And this is the key part. Democratically elected, and Argo, the film, touches on this, but very, very briefly. And it just makes it seem very incidental.
Incidental and insignificant, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and somehow really distant.
Mm-hmm.
So distant that it's almost like it didn't happen. And it just seems like in the minds of people who are our age, who remember the Ayatollah Khomeini, who are like, that really? Because it's like, really? Iran had a democratically elected leader? It did.
Yeah.
And this person was like, I'm going to fucking nationalize our oil. Now, anytime a leader wants to nationalize the oil, that's a problem. That's a problem for British Petroleum. That's a problem.
Not just oil. Fruit in Central America, pineapples, dole,
100%.
Anything
100%.
that there is profit to be made in another country where American interests and let's just say Western interests are involved, that democracy shit ain't exactly going to go over too well.
Exactly. And so what happens is, if you've heard the term economic hitmen, motherfuckers go over there with briefcases with money and they're like, hey, let's make a deal. And if the person says, fuck you, why should we make a deal with you? Like, this is about us, our shit, this is our oil, this is our whatever. They're like, okay, no deal. All right, have it your way. And then that money goes to someone else. That money goes to your enemies. That money goes to people who want to overthrow you. So ultimately, Mossadegh is ousted in a coup. And who's installed? The Shah. His military government with his secret police, the Savak, they're put in. You get another period of more modernization. but with a lot of repression. So in 79, there's a revolution that overthrows the Shah, who was a U.S. puppet. Now, that revolution, within that revolution were students and some leftist voices. Those voices also got marginalized, and power consolidated around the Ayatollah Khomeini. So it became basically overrun by a religious focus. And so now you have another wave of like repression, but now it's with a religious focus as a backlash to the overthrow of Mossadegh. And it's not to say that the hardline religious leaders or clerics in Iran would have agreed with Mossadegh. It's resentment built up over the overthrow and the installation of the Shah and the puppeteering of the United States. And because of how a lot of other countries use rhetoric, that's why you get all this footage of people saying like "death to America," America's the great Satan," all this and that. But some of the same people that are saying "death to America," when they don't like their leader, they're like "death to our leader," because it's the way they use rhetoric. But it sells good stories to make people afraid. And I'm not saying that like, obviously, other extreme voices can be threats to the United States, and to, of course, we're not being naive. What we're saying is that this is a story. There's a story here. So Iran essentially becomes a theocratic state, and it doesn't recognize Israel. The embassy is taken, so you get the hostages.
American embassy is taken.
The American embassy is taken. Mm-hmm. Carter freezes Iran's assets, and he puts on an embargo. After that, you get the Canadian caper, which is the story of Argo, with C.I.A. operative goes in to get the diplomats. Then you get another operation where they try to go extract hostages, and it turns into like a Black Hawk Down type of shit, which is another. Black Hawk Down is a different story, different part of the world, but different director,
yeah.
But a helicopter did crash. Then you get a war between Iran and Iraq. So the U.S. is like, all right, we're going to give Saddam Hussein aid. This is real. Rumsfeld was there. Then the hostages were released right after Reagan got sworn in, and that was the October surprise. And that thing is like, did the campaign kind of try to urge the stall of the release of the hostages so it looked good for Reagan? Mm-hmm. Then, after that, the U.S. in the mid-'80s starts selling weapons to Iran without Congress, because there's sanctions still on Iran in place. The U.S. sells arms to Iran to take the proceeds of that money, of the proceeds of that sale of arms, to turn around, and when we get more into drug war shit, we'll talk about this. We'll get into Sicario. They turn around and take that money and they give it to contra-revolutionary groups to
Nicaragua, right?
To armed rebels in Nicaragua without Congress, because this is illegal. And that's Iran-Contra. Then the U.S. downs an Iranian passenger plane. Then you get all the stuff with the WMDs against Iraq. You get the nuclear sites in Iran, the non-proliferation treaty. Um, Israel continues to frame Iran as an existential threat. And here we go. There's footage of I don't know if he's a general or what he is, but his name is Wesley Clark. And he spoke, this is like early 2000s. He's at some conference or something. And he's talking about some memo that he claims to have seen, which has 7 countries. The idea is that they're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years. I don't know if you've heard of this.
Yeah,
and it was gonna be Iraq, Libya, Syria, Lebanon, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. And because, as Biden has said and other people have said, basically the support of Israel for the U.S. is because Israel is basically an aircraft carrier for the U.S. in the Middle East. It's a jumping off point. It's an ally right there in the center. Where there's all this fucking oil, and it's geopolitical. It's all fucking chessboard. It's all fucking that shit. Zbigniew Brzezinski, the father of the Mika from the Morning Joe show or whatever, he talked about that, and this was kind of the era of like the U.S. is going to support the Taliban in Afghanistan against the Soviets. It's a game of risk. It's a grand chessboard. It's controlling all the options. And right now, oil is still the thing. You know, we're moving into it's information. We're moving into water. We're moving into all these other things. But we're still there. And so with the film, all we're really getting is a Hollywood fucking caper film about the good guy. And I'm not saying he himself was not a good guy. That doesn't matter. It's the good guy going in to save these good guys. He's going into basically the nest of vipers to get them out. And Hollywood is there, you know, with John Goodman and Alan Arkin, like, providing the fucking, like, oh, we're going to tell jokes about Hollywood and, like,
well, it's going to make it lighthearted, a little bit more.
They'll make it lighthearted,
conventional,
yes.
and it's going to be it's a lot easier sell. It's the sugar on the it's a spoonful of sugar that makes the medicine go down a little bit easier because you could take a moment to step back and it's not as bitter. It's not as harsh a story when you have Alan Arkin playing at what at this point became his curmudgeonly role, and big old fat John Goodman sweating.
Yeah,
and I love both of them. So that being said,
yeah, I mean, John Goodman's good at that role of like, I'm gonna come in, I'm the friend who's kind of a mess, but I'm gonna come in and fucking like, he did that really well in that movie Flight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come in when you need it, and I'm gonna fucking come in clutch. And I have with Flight, it's like I have the fucking cocaine and all the drugs or whatever, and we're gonna do something unconventional and against the odds, but it's actually gonna work. And just let me do my shit. And he's very much in that role in this film. And by the time, I mean, and it is paced in such a way that you are like, fuck, like, are they going to make it out or not? Fuck, you know? And go ahead.
We'll get into that later, but it's while I was watching, while I was watching that, as each obstacle was presented to them, I felt a little bit more insulted by the obvious storytelling moments where it was like, oh, now they got to do this. Oh, now they got to do that. But especially when you find out that None of that shit happened. That they basically breezed through. They got there at 5 o'clock in the morning. Even the guard didn't want to get up that early to check on this shit, and it was a walk towards freedom that was made
Well,
without incident.
That part is not going to sell. Like, you need that pacing and you need that editing.
You
that is going to get
absolutely need that pacing and editing. But this goes back to what I said at the beginning of this episode, where
yes.
is there a responsibility to tell a story in such a way that is reflective of what actually happened, or to dramatize it in such a way as to make, because what ends up happening here is the Iranians look even more demonic and even more threatening, dangerous, and it gives this American sensibility of a boogeyman that doesn't exist in the way it's portrayed on screen. Now, I will say that these people were in danger. It's obvious that they were in danger. It's obvious that them being Americans did them no favors in Iran at this point in time, and that they would have been killed. And it doesn't wipe away the fact that there were 50 some other hostages that were there for 444 days. So it was dangerous, but to not try to understand. This is where empathy comes in, and it makes it difficult as a movie watcher, because people typically want movies to be cut and dry, black and white, easy to digest. A lot of people don't want to go into a situation like this and create any kind of sympathy or empathy for these dark-skinned, bearded terrorists. Although I don't know how they can be terrorists in their own country, but they are Arabs, and they're the great enemy. So,
well, it's like the lady that said that she doesn't trust Obama. She told John McCain because he's Arab.
Yeah. No, he's a good Christian. But then even John McCain's, did she say because he was Arab or because he was Muslim? He was an Arab Muslim, and John McCain's answer, although a lot more enlightening than the ignorance that she was spewing, was problematic, because it was, no, he's a good Christian man.
Yeah.
Which is to say that if he had been a Muslim, which Christian or Muslim or Jewish, I find problems with because of my personal opinions on the limitations of religion.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's fair. It seems fair to me, but
no, I mean, the point is that it's like layers and layers of prejudice and propaganda speaking through different people's mouths at different times. Because even the correction has levels of propaganda to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's like he might as well have just told her no. The only problem with Obama is that he's a leftist black person, and even that's a euphemism, So, because John McCain is not against some of these fucking people that we have now. Yeah, he's more a voice of reason, but it's kind of like, all taken within the context. It's like, motherfucker, like, these are all war hawk fucking like fucked up people who want atrocities. They just want atrocities on the other side. So
well, you bring that up. Think about Hillary Clinton saying during the campaign that America isn't ready for this kind of president. She basically insinuated they weren't ready for a black president. I don't remember exactly her word was, but yeah.
I mean, like, in so many ways, half was and the other half still isn't. Because
you could make the argument that they were so unprepared for regardless of what Bill Maher and some of the political liberal pundits say, they were so unprepared for a black president that the springback got us a Donald Trump, which is what I believe.
That's a version of basically what happened in Iran. Like, they're not. It's not a one-for-one comparison, but it's like every action has an equal opposite reaction, and you overthrow a fucking democratically elected leader, and you install a puppet. Resentment is gonna fucking build, and what is the reaction gonna fucking be? The reaction ended up that now you have a volatile situation that is fucking supposedly anti-American, and it's repressive, but from a different perspective. And I mean, and there are people who make the claim that that the revolution itself was like the CIA was involved in the revolution that overthrew the Shah. I mean, it gets complicated. There's like these different, and I haven't looked enough into that to go into more about it. But and so I don't know exactly how marginal these are, these other theories or whatever. But if we just take the mainstream view, is that this is fucking blowback. This is a fucking reaction to what happened. It's like fucking
Well,
you get a groundswell of animosity and resentment, and eventually the dam bursts, and this is what happened. And now, so the Ayatollah Khomeini dies, and then you get the Ayatollah Khomeini, and then now the Ayatollah Khomeini died because he was killed in bomb strikes, and now what did we get? We went to war to replace the Ayatollah Khomeini with the Ayatollah Khomeini, his son, who is more extreme. And not only is he more extreme and hardline, he's also extreme and hardline, and his fucking dad was murdered by what obviously he perceives to be his enemies, and so was his wife. So
and daughters, I believe.
So okay, add that onto it.
I mean,
how is that person gonna fucking?
Yeah.
So now you're creating it's becoming more extreme.
Mm-hmm. But what's missing from the American perspective on this is empathy.
Well, Elon Musk has already said that empathy is a great problem, you know?
Well, Elon Musk is a cunt. So if you want to, I think Sun Tzu talked a little bit about not, and maybe he bastardized it and used it in a way that's dissimilar to what I'm doing, or in contrast to what I'm thinking. But don't underestimate your enemy by reducing them to just that. Try to understand where they're coming from, what is motivating their actions, and you have a better understanding of how to deal with them. And I think
that goes back to the fog of war.
Yeah, exactly. Well, McNamara as well. I mean, but this is all a matter of, if you don't have an understanding and a certain level of respect for your opponent, then you can never truly battle them in such a way as to, I mean, because you have to understand that the so-called Middle East is reacting, and I think justifiably, to American intervention, and before that, British intervention, as the controlling means of governing their people. A foreign white, it's very easy to simplify it to a foreign white devil, and I'm not sure that they're wrong in some case of that.
I mean, and in all of this shit, like we've talked, like, in the conversation,
mm-hmm.
So-called Arabs, because of the position. I mean, a lot of these, there are different minority groups and different mm-hmm. ethnicities, but like these other countries around, they speak Arabic, and that's through colonization and all that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the Kurds, we haven't even and this is not going to center around them. I'm just saying that like all these borders that are fucking that were created by so-called Western forces, they don't take into account actual natural cultural borders.
Yeah.
So the Kurds, you have some in Turkey, you have some in Iraq, you have some in Iran, and it's just chopped up, and it's kind of like those people don't even enter into the fucking conversation because it's like, who gives a fuck, you know?
Yeah.
Well, that's the attitude.
They're smaller, they're fragmented, they're separated from one another. You're talking about a region of the world where the people have been the people, the different tribes, the different societies, the different cultures, the different languages and religious sects are no longer in control of their own lives and both social and political practices. Now, there's a part of me that's like, there are elements of Islam that I take serious, that I have serious problems with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I have those problems with Judaism, Christianity, specifically Catholicism. And what does it all go back to? It goes back to power dynamics. It goes back to control. It goes back to, but also people who are willing to allow themselves to be governed by somebody else's interpretation of holy books. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all fucked up, and there's no way of getting around it. So, there's a sadness here because some of the biggest problems are interpretation of ancient texts and
Yeah,
and
well, that's a whole other kind of work.
but it's all in there. But it's not so
Yeah,
much
because it's
different than what goes on here. In our different, it's just that there's an attitude here that A, it's more civilized, but
of course.
and I think this is more important, is that within the United States and probably the English-speaking countries, there is more control over the entire world as a whole, so that we are able to live amongst each other and with each other and ignore the radically different interpretations. I grew up Catholic. When I've heard people talk about their Christian readings of the Bible or Protestant, Episcopalian, Lutheran, there's a part of me that says that's fucking ridiculous. But I have to take a step back and look at my own Catholic upbringing and recognize, well, this is ridiculous too. So it's problematic because everybody's going to see it from a different vantage point, and nobody is ever going to be willing to come together to decide on one interpretation because that's impossible.
Of course.
So none of this will work. None of this will come. It's gonna end badly. Yeah.
Even the United States has a sacred text.
Mm-hmm.
Do I mean that in the sense of having anything to do with the higher power? I mean, it has to do
What's
with
the sacred text? Are you talking about the Bible or the Constitution?
The Constitution.
Okay.
The Constitution is the sacred text.
Some people would say the Bible is the sacred text of the United States.
They would say the Bible is the sacred text of all time, and the Constitution is particular to us.
These same people only view the United States as what matters. As far as they're concerned, all of that shit came out of there in order to realize what the United States is.
Follow my flow with this, though.
I'm with you, baby.
Just follow where I'm going with this. And you don't even need the Bible. Pretend the Bible doesn't exist.
I'd like to. Go ahead.
Pretend.
Right, I'm pretending.
That's our fucking sacred text. Yeah. This country and all countries have it. They have their own versions. All cultures have their own versions of this. There's the sacred text. There's the origin story. There's the sets of values that make us different from everyone else that we live by, but that are somehow should be universal. There are it has all these hallmarks, right? And I'm not saying that it means that it's equal to religion, or that you could call it that. What I'm saying is that there are commonalities, and that sacred text, although it is considered to be the cornerstone of our civilization and our society here in the United States, people still to this day cannot agree 100% on interpretations of it, because that's how it is. And then you get scholars and lawyers and different people arguing over that, and you have basically the priestly class, which is the Supreme Court, that goes. These are the ayatollahs of the United States that go in and make decisions that can amount to life or death for the people of this country, and their decisions are that's the rule. Their decisions are on the rule of law, or the way they interpret it. If these laws are legal laws or not. What I'm getting at is that it becomes even more complicated when you start. It's complicated enough without the religious elements. It's more complicated when you add another layer, because there's just all these layers. And then you have, in terms of the origin stories and the interpretations, you also have fucking, like, going back to Wag the Dog, you have the Hollywood script, which it's like, okay, tell me about the history of this country. The history of this country is going to be told from the perspective of this country, because that's how we learned it. That's how we learned it in the movies. That's how we learned it on TV. That's how we learned it back when books were a thing. That's how we learned it. That's how we learned it in the classroom. That's how we learned it if our parents regurgitated it to us. So that any kind of outside perspective on that is, well, that's wrong. That's why the Vietnam War is the American war in Vietnam. But you tell that to an American, and that sounds absurd to them.
Well, absurd and offensive.
Of
and
course.
I think that's.
How
I
fucking
think that's,
dare they?
Mm-hmm.
How fucking dare they? For all of the American people that died for that righteous war.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's look at the movie 300.
Yeah.
The Spartans against the Persians, and these are the depictions that we get of Iran, because there aren't like very many in Hollywood. And that's what we get. The Persians look fucking animalistic. They look they look monstrous. And the Spartans are basically what every manosphere fucking like that new manosphere fucking Thoreau documentary on fucking Netflix. They all want to be buff with the hot chicks and all that bullshit, which is it's the American ideal or whatever. It's like, that's how the Spartans look. They're all fucking super ripped.
Mm-hmm.
The hot chicks, they're all like, they don't talk about like homosexuality or any of that other bullshit. Like, no, that's not part of that. Like, we're making a cool fucking story about where the fucking the leader kicks that black guy into the fucking well. Which they've made that into using like deepfake and all that. I don't know if it was Trump or who the fuck it was that kicked Obama into that well. They made that guy Obama.
Yeah, beautiful.
I sent it to you when I saw it, however many years ago, and it because this is it. Right now, the war that's going on, they're showing clips of real life like bombing footage intermixed with video game footage.
They're
cut together,
and then they're playing. What are they're playing like "We Are the Champions" and all kinds of other shit over it. It's
all of it.
Yeah, it's in disgusting taste. It's really obscene and offensive. And I I don't subscribe to that kind of thinking of being offended by shit. But I'm offended as a human being. I'm really disgusted by, I understand that war is what it is, but to glorify it in this manner and to look at it as a game so that you can make yourself feel better, you fucking it's embarrassing. It's
It's
embarrassing.
propaganda.
Yeah. But the fact that people embrace it, and I think that's the danger of this movie, is that people embrace this movie, giving it the highest honor that you can in film, the 2013 Best Picture Oscar.
But it makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, but at the same time, it's like, it's embarrassing that people feel the need to pat themselves on the backs in this way.
The whole ceremony of the Oscars, we did that. We did the fucking we've done those fucking episodes. We've done those shows where it's like that's what Hollywood loves to fucking do. Hollywood loves to make itself into, and that was like from episode 214 through 214, 215, 216, 217, 218, 219, 220, 227, 228, 230, 234, 235. Like, from the get go, we played a game. We went over every single fucking like year and tried to pick out, like, were there patterns? Who would they have chosen? What films would they have chosen as Best Picture? And obviously, if it involves the Holocaust or slavery, because we're so fucking we as Hollywood are so sensitive to all that shit. We know what we can exploit into a fucking heartfelt story. We're gonna go with that. Anything that goes against those types of particular narratives, and Hollywood likes to pretend that it's like super fucking liberal and super like on the right side of history all the time, and it's like just as much as fucking cesspool as Washington D.C.
Absolutely.
And its history is full of fucking abusers and fucking all that shit too. You know what I mean? Like, and we've talked about that. It didn't start with Weinstein.
No.
It started from the fucking beginnings.
It's Louis B. Mayer, Warner Brothers. It's all those guys. Warner, all of them.
Yeah. And Argo and those kind of films. I mean, Argo is like a softer one than like a 300, which is more blatant. 300 is more like Pete Hegseth type of shit. Argo is more along the lines of like a Spielberg. Like, we're going to take one particular aspect and center it on, like, the goodness of this one person and the story of people who make it out, and that's what we're gonna do, and deliberately changes, as you talked about. It dramatizes when there wasn't those moments of drama, and then it downplays other moments of drama that it should have touched on, and the actor, the woman who's in Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, that vampire movie, she's in it, and they get them out, and she's on her own. She helps, like, hide the fucking the six at the Canadian embassy, and they didn't know if they could trust her, because you can't really, you don't know if you could trust them,
Well, even that element of the film is bullshit, because the real housekeeper was Filipino.
Well, I guess that's a little bit better on the hierarchy of the racism, so you could trust Filipino a little bit more. But you know what I mean? Like,
but it just goes to show that it's like there's nothing in this film that you can trust, and but
you can't trust the C.I.A. or Hollywood. What do you mean?
You can't trust anything. If you're going to cinema for more than just if you're going for historical accuracy, if you're going for the truth, you're not going to find it. Not in any Hollywood film, because the business is such as to it's
To
business.
fuck with
It's
it.
financial. It's let's fuck with the people and scare them into giving us their dollars and make them feel good at the end. There is that rah-rah moment. I don't even remember seeing this in the theater, but I imagine when that plane takes flight and they're out of Iranian airspace, there was a hoot and a holler from the audience saying, "Yeah, America, love it or leave it, we're coming back. We get our own. No man left behind." All that other shit that
Mm-hmm.
we pride ourselves on, and we, and I know what I sound like. I sound like some fucking asshole who you know hates my country and is unpatriotic. Yeah, number one, I am unpatriotic, but at the same time, um, I believe that my country should adhere to the principles that it supposedly founded itself on, and I just don't like to be. I just don't like the bullshit. So don't try to sell that here. Um, I think beyond patriotism, we need to figure out a way to live with each other and ignore all this shit that keeps us at odds, which is never going to happen. Um, but I think if anything, films like this go out of their way to minimize the truth and lead people to believe that it's a lot more simpler than it is, and I think that's dangerous for a society. This is a really bad movie, a really bad movie. I mean, beyond just obviousness. That's my opinion.
Buymeacoffee.com/WatchRickRamos. That's buymeacoffee.com/WatchRickRamos. This is the podcast that you go to get your cinema truth. The truth and only the truth, so help me God, because my Bible tells me so, and so is the Constitution. Fair and balanced, all of it. This one goes to Slim Slim. Thanks for all your support. Thank you, everyone. Now, Argo, fuck yourself.